Jaya Jaya Sri Caitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Jaya Sri Caitanya Jaya Nityananda. Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Jaya Jaya Sri Caitanya Jaya Nityananda. Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Reading from Sri Caitanya Caritamrita, Adi Lila, chapter 17, Pastimes of the Lord in His Youth, and this is text number 266. Pranatite habe ihara aparada kashaya Nimala hridaye bhakti karebe udaya. Pranatite habe ihara aparadha kashaya. Nimala hridaye bhakti karebe udaya. Vaishnavis? Prana ite, by offering obeisances. Habe, there will be. Ihara, of such offenders. Aparadha, the offences. Kashaya, destruction. Nimala, pure. Hridaye, in the heart. Bhakti, devotional service. Kara ibya, I shall cause. Udaya, the rising. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada. Offering obeisances will relieve them of all the reactions of their offences. Then, by my grace, devotional service, bhakti, will awaken in their pure hearts. Please repeat. Offering obeisances will relieve them of all the reactions to their offences. Then, by my grace, devotional service, bhakti, will awaken in their pure hearts. Purport. According to Vedic injunctions, only a Brahmana may be offered sannyas. The Shankara Sampradaya, Ekadanda Sannyasa Sampradaya, awards the sannyas order only to caste Brahmins or born Brahmins. But in the Vaishnava system, even one not born in a Brahmana family may be made a Brahmana according to the directions of the Hari Bhakti Vilas. Tata Diksha Vidha Nena Dvijatvam Jayate Nunam. Any person from any part of the world may be made a Brahmana by the regular process of initiation. And when he follows Brahminical behavior, observing the principles of abstaining from intoxication, illicit sex, meat eating and gambling, he may be offered sannyas. All the sannyasis in the Krishna consciousness movement who are preaching all over the world are regular Brahmana sannyasis. Thus, the so-called caste Brahmanas should not object to offering them respectful obeisances. By offering such obeisances as recommended by Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu, they will diminish their offences and automatically awaken to their natural position of devotional service. As it is said, Nitya Siddha Krishna Prema Sadhya Kabunoi. Krishna Prema can be awakened in a purified heart. The more we offer obeisances to sannyasis, especially Vaishnava sannyasis, the more we diminish our offences and purify our hearts. Only in a purified heart can Krishna Prema awaken. This is the process of Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu's cult, the Krishna consciousness movement. So this is Lord Chaitanya speaking here. We can just repeat this translation one more time. Please repeat. Offering obeisances will relieve them of all their reactions to their offences. Then by my grace, devotional service, bhakti, will awaken in their pure hearts. Mama jnana timirandasya gananjana shalakaya chakshu unmilitam jena tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha. So we only have another 6 verses until the monumental pastime of Sri Mahaprabhu, Sriman Mahaprabhu, Lord Chaitanya actually accepting the renounced order of life in Katwa, just across the river Ganges from the Lord's home in Navadvip Mayapur, from Keshava Bharati Maharaj. So, the foundational principle of Mahaprabhu's movement is renunciation of material enjoyment in order to relish spiritual happiness. Vairagya Vidya Nija Bhakti Yoga Shiksha Tam Eka Purusha Parana Sri Krishna Chaitanya Sarira Adahi Kripamburi Yastamaham Prabhajye. This was the first of many verses composed by Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya in glorification of Lord Chaitanya when Mahaprabhu manifested a wondrous form to the Bhattacharya known as Sadbhuj, 6-armed form. Two hands playing the flute as Krishna, another 2 hands holding bow and arrows as Lord Ramachandra, and the other 2 hands as Sriman Mahaprabhu with kamandalu and danda, sannyas rod and water pot as traditionally carried by sannyasis. And this verse translates as, "My dear Lord, you have appeared to teach us three things. And the first thing, top of the list, is vairagya, or renunciation of everything which does not foster pure devotional service or pure bhakti to Krishna. And then vidya, knowledge, especially transcendental spiritual knowledge. There's so many branches of knowledge, but the knowledge of devotional service. Vairagya Vidya and Nija Bhakti Yoga, and devotional service to yourself. So this was the first of many prayers that Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya was a greatly learned scholar, and interestingly was a householder, though he had accepted what is known as Kshetra Sannyas, which means he'd taken a vow to stay in one holy place his whole life and never to leave. And that holy place was, of course, Jagannath Puri. So, foundational principle, renunciation. And Krishna enjoys his 6 opulences, and one of those opulences is renunciation. So when the Lord desires, he can accept an incarnation and perform very severe austerities, much more severe than any other mere mortal can ever aspire to perform. And that was the case in Puri, where Mahaprabhu had 9 celebrated sannyasis living close by who were all much older. Perhaps Swarup Damodar was around the same age, and he was also a sannyasi, the Lord's secretary. Though he didn't wear saffron cloth, he wore white because he was acting as the Lord's secretary. But the others, great souls, were all generally much older than Caitanya Mahaprabhu, old enough to be his father, grandfather, elderly sannyasis. Paramananda Puri, Brahmananda Bharati, Vishnu Puri, and so on. And they're described as like, just, we all know, a large tree. We have our massive Kadamba tree. Rumour has it it's the largest Kadamba tree in Australia out here. And as Ajita was reminding me the other day, it's actually a very pious tree because it's been to every single morning program ever since the temple was established here, because it was planted around that time. So it's putting myself to shame. And by its ever expanding and extending branches, it can actually see the deities. So that's very wonderful. And did you have to, Lucas Prabhu, did you have to swim out through the snake-infested lake this morning, Lotus? No, or you took the canoe. You got a stick. Fantastic. Isn't that beautiful? Srila Prabhupada with us. Coming into Lotus season, yes, December, January. So thank you, very nice offering there. So yes, this is a foundational principle. It's interesting. Decades ago now, one of our revered godbrothers was writing an article on the Gaudiya Vaishnava widows in their ashrams in Vrindavan. So he went, naturally, whilst doing research, and interviewed a number of these venerable Vaishnavas. And in one of the ashrams, he was asking questions to, and I'm going to call her the Mother Superior, because that's what she was. Venerable Vaishnavi who was overseeing the other widows in this particular ashram. And I know it's a Catholic expression, just as we have abbots in Catholic monasteries for the men. So this particular Venerable Vaishnavi, my godbrother was asked, do you have a patron saint of your ashram? And at first she didn't understand because there was a language barrier challenge. So he rephrased the question, and with the help of a devotee who knew both English and Bengali, he said, like Mirabai. And it just so happened that Mirabai, another great Vaishnavi saint in our Krishna tradition, her ashram was nearby. So he said, like Mirabai. And then this lady understood, and she said, oh, no, not Mirabai. Vishnu Priya Devi is our patron saint. She gave, along with Sachimata, Lord Caitanya to us. And this is really quite moving if we just pause to think about it. That was her realization that the Lord's consort, expansion of Lakshmi Devi herself, allowed Caitanya Mahaprabhu, even as a young man, to leave home and accept the renounced order of life, along with the Lord's mother, Sachi Devi. She gave Lord Caitanya to us. And those of us who know a little bit have taken the trouble to inform ourselves over the years and have heard, we know that a man just can't up and leave his family, if he's a family man, and accept the renounced order of life. He must get permission from his wife to do that. So Srimati Vishnupriya gave the Lord her blessings to leave and to accept the renounced order of life, so that persons who were puffed up, the Lord's own students and the hardest of hard-hearted Mayavadis and other materialistic persons, would, after the Lord accepted the renounced order of life, purify themselves by at least offering obeisances to him, as is the Vedic custom. So, much can be said about that. One thing is, as we mentioned, I think last time, Keshava Bharati Maharaj is the incarnation of Akrura. Akrura means not cruel, but the inhabitants of Sri Brajadam considered Uncle Akrura the most cruel-hearted person, because he was responsible for taking Krishna and Balaram out of Sri Brajadam to Mathura. And in the same way, Keshava Bharati Maharaj was responsible for, when awarding sannyas to Mahaprabhu, making it impossible for Mahaprabhu to stay in Navadvip Mayapur, because sannyasis are not meant to stay after accepting the renounced order of life in the village or town where they have grown up and they're surrounded by friends and family members. They're meant to travel widely and to expand what Prabhupada referred to as the Achyuta Gotra. Gotra means family, and the family of Lord Achyuta, Krishna. In other words, they make disciples, they make followers, they inspire people by their katha, their words, to take up devotional service to Krishna. Vasudeva Kata Ruchi, a taste, that's what we're all aspiring for, or perhaps we have a little inkling at the taste for hearing topics about Lord Vasudeva Krishna. Very difficult thing, rarest, most subtle thing. Hard to get, but very easy to lose. One has to, just as one has some precious possessions, some jewelry or money, then one generally takes very good care of it, keeps it under lock and key. So similarly, Vasudeva Kata Ruchi, we have to guard very, 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 very carefully. And we've seen, sadly, that even after decades of devotional service, one who commits offences or is inattentive can lose that that taste for hearing about Krishna, can be lost. So, and it's interesting, within the broad expanse of Indian culture, we have different, you could say, components. And, for example, we have Indian culture, very broad. And then we have Hindu culture. And then we can go deeper into Vaishnava culture. And of course, in different parts of the vast subcontinent, Vaishnavas are worshipping Krishna in different ways. And then we have Gaudiya Vaishnava culture. And even within Gaudiya Vaishnava culture, oftentimes things are done slightly differently in different holy places, Jagannath Puri, Navadvip and Vrindavan, the principal holy tirthas of the Gaudiya Vaishnavas. It is said that Krishna's pastimes and Caitanya Mahaprabhu's pastimes cannot be understood by reason, by argument, or by logic, and even by philosophy as we normally think of philosophy, which is quite often based on mental speculation, trying to understand by our own mental prowess. They're transcendental. But with a purified heart, of course, Krishna reveals himself. By my grace is being described here, by Mahaprabhu himself. Then by my grace, devotional service, bhakti will awaken in their pure hearts. So, in the history of our Gaudiya Vaishnava Sampradaya, we do have many renunciants, and we also have many householders, all devotees of Sriman Mahaprabhu. And many were not born in Brahmin families. Narottam Das Thakur was a prince, the son of Govardhana and Hiranya Majumdar, zamindars, vastly wealthy landholders. But he remained a Naistika brahmachari his whole life. He never married. Srila Narottam Das Thakur. Similarly, Raghunath Das Goswami was married as a young man, but became such a madman of Chaitanya Chandra, Lord Chaitanya, that even all the opulence that was there couldn't keep him away from the lotus feet of Lord Chaitanya. He kept running away from home. So that example is there. And in more recent times, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, and consequently his own children, his great son, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati. Bhaktivinoda Thakur's family were not caste Brahmins either. They were kayastas, administrative, caste, mercantile, like Srila Prabhupada's family also. But we see, so there is no bar, as Prabhupada has wonderfully explained in this verse, according to the Hari Bhakti Vilas, any person from any part of the world may be made a Brahmana by the regular process of initiation, and similarly sannyasi. And Prabhupada did say when his three householder couples went on his order to Europe and established the Krishna consciousness movement there on very sound footing, Prabhupada glorified them. He said that they are more than sannyasis. So these designations are there. Varnashram is there, and then there's pure bhakti, pure devotional service. And sometimes they overlap, and sometimes they cross over, but sometimes they don't. And of course, in the early days, Prabhupada's early disciples, and even many of us when we joined who had never been to India, we would continually read as we do, and we'll use Prabhupada's words here, Vedic injunctions. Prabhupada would often talk about, in Vedic culture, it is done like this, or in Vedic civilization, it was done like that. So what this Vedic culture or Vedic civilization was perhaps a little bit of a mystery to some of us in the very early days. But when we went to India, and then we saw what Prabhupada was actually describing, the broad culture that is the great spiritual tradition of India. And at the very pinnacle, of course, is pure Vaishnavism. And of course, Srila Prabhupada revealed at different times his disinclination to take sannyas, because he was a householder, married for 36 years. But then he started, after Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur departed, and as Prabhupada got older, into his 50s, then he had a number of dreams, the same dream, but on a number of occasions where his Guru Maharaj was appearing in the dream and motioning to him to follow him and to become a preacher. In other words, to accept the renounced order of life. And Prabhupada said those dreams were horrible. And he even said, as a younger disciple of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, he used to sometimes see his godbrothers who were sannyasis and brahmacharis living very austerely. And Prabhupada said, I had no inclination for that lifestyle. Even they would often have to go and beg for their sustenance, which is considered perfectly honourable in Vedic culture, where sadhus can go and beg because the rest of the time they're engaged in spiritual practices, and pious persons will give them something. Prabhupada also commented that in this age there's a lot of cheating, and even in the neighbourhood Prabhupada lived in Calcutta, there was one gentleman who was a householder. He had a wife and children, and all the neighbours knew that this particular fellow, every morning, he'd dress in saffron clothes and wander downtown to the markets and the bus stations and train stations where there were large congregations of people in his saffron sannyasi garb, and he would beg. And that was how he supported his family. And in the evening he'd come back home, take off his saffron clothes, hang them up, put on his white clothes, and spend the evening time with his family. So this is an example of cheating, kaitava. And of course many people become disillusioned with such cheating behaviour. Much can be said about that also. Kaitava Dharma, I think it's the second verse of the Srimad Bhagavatam. Dharma kaitavotra paramo nimatsaranam satam. Completely rejecting all materially motivated philosophies. This Bhagavad Purana propounds the highest truth, which is readily understandable by those devotees who are pure in heart. So, Krishna gives wonderful instructions to Uddhava in the 11th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam. He tells the story of the famous Brahmana from Avantipura. And Krishna is actually speaking to Uddhava this wonderful pastime which occurred long, long ago. How once upon a time there was a gentleman, and he was born in a Brahmin family, but he wasn't a very nice person. His family didn't like him, wife didn't like him, children didn't like him. His behaviour was very harsh. He was very miserly, greedy. He didn't have the Brahminical qualities. Samodhamas tapashotyam shanti ajavam evacha jnanam vijnanam astikyam brahma kama svabhavajam. Peacefulness, self-control, purity, honesty, wisdom, knowledge, religiousness, etc. These are the qualities, Krishna tells Arjuna, by which the Brahmanas work. So this particular Avanti Brahmana, he didn't have many of those qualities. His servants didn't like him, the government didn't like him. When he got older, different misfortune overcame him where he lost a lot of his hard-earned wealth. Some of his servants stole from him, even family members stole some wealth. The government, through excessive taxation, plundered. Thieves came and stole. So towards the end of his life, he thought, what is this material life? I've worked so hard. Nobody likes me. I should take sannyas. I was born in a Brahmin family, and that's what us Brahmins do. Important point, as Prabhupada mentions here. According to Vedic injunctions, only a Brahmana may be offered sannyas. So again, this is Varnashram, Vedic culture, vis-a-vis pure Vaishnavism. but it is a fact that Brahmins should pass through all 4 ashrams. Brahmacharya, 25 years. Grihastha, 25 years. Vanaprastha, or retired life, 25 years. And then, if they're qualified, the remaining 25 years of the 100-year lifespan they can become renounced and travel and spread the glories of the Lord. Kshatriyas, they passed through 3 ashrams, Brahmachari, Grihastha and Vanaprastha, but they don't take sannyas. Vaishyas, 2 ashrams. They can also go to the Gurukula, so Brahmacharya and Grihastha, but no Vanaprastha or sannyas. And Sudras, there's only 1 ashram, Grihastha ashram. It's interesting, in the Jewish faith, there's no such thing as sannyas. Everyone gets married and everybody stays married. So, the Avanti Brahmana, he left home and he took sannyas. And we can just, because we did a little research yesterday, and you might notice we have this one big book here. I have to be honest, this book was given to me many years ago by one of my godbrothers in New Zealand, who decided he was never going to take sannyas. But anyway, this is everything Srila Prabhupada wrote about sannyas. That's a lot. Thick book. So just to reinforce how serious Prabhupada was, these are all quotes only from Prabhupada's books, not from room conversations or morning walks or everything. Just everything he wrote. So, the Avanti Brahmana, he left home. And again, according to Vedic injunctions, there are 4 stages for one who accepts sannyas, and they are known as Kutichak, Bahudak, Parivrajaka, and Paramahamsa. Kutichak, Kutia means a hermitage or a hut. So as soon as a man leaves home, he is allowed for some time to live on the outskirts of his village, and some of his children or other friends may bring him his foodstuffs every day. After some time of getting used to that, then Kutichak Bahudak, he may accept the profession of like a honeybee, a bumblebee, which goes to a few houses and begs, known as Madhukari. Madhu means bee-like existence. And then from there, Parivrajaka, he starts to travel, and strictly speaking, sannyasis are only meant to stay in one place for 3 nights, and then they move on to another place. Except for the rainy season, 4 months, where it's a little hard to move about, they can stay in one holy place and perform extra austerities. Prabhupada liked very much, one young Indian reporter wrote about him in a very favourable article, referring to Srila Prabhupada as Jet Age Parivrajaka. And Prabhupada really liked that this young reporter had understood jet age, meaning Prabhupada was flying all over the world using all the modern conveyances to spread the glories of Sri Krishna. Jet age Parivrajaka means acharya, one who travels and preaches. So they are there. So the Avanti Brahmana, then he started to travel. And because he'd given up all opulence, he travelled as a sannyasi. His cloth was rather niggardly, ragged. And sometimes, yes, he would be hosted in king's palaces and offered very sumptuous foodstuffs, but other times he would be forced to sleep under trees or find some shelter. And sometimes there were very favourable persons who recognised his great spiritual elevation. But there were many other uncouth, low-class people who would abuse him in different ways. And Krishna doesn't spare Uddhava any of the graphic details, and we can just pause and reflect. It's the Supreme Personality of Godhead enlightening his dear devotee, Uddhava, that sometimes low-class persons would taunt the Avanti Brahmana in different ways, even take his possessions off him and not give them back. And sometimes, wait for it, they would even pass foul air in his direction and even urinate on the foodstuffs which he had collected before having a chance to eat it. And he just endured all those offences. Any of us men want to take sannyas? And Krishna explains the famous Tatte Nukampam Sushamikshamana Bunjana Evata Kripam Vipakam. Third line I can never remember, but the last line, half of it. Please, loudly. Thank you. Srinakavacha. Mukti Pade Sadaya Bhak. I can remember half of the fourth line. So 3.5 lines. Chanakya Pandit said once, every day memorize a verse, or at least half a verse, or at least one line of a verse. So this famous verse is there in Srimad Bhagavatam, where the devotee tolerates all different types of reactions, always meditating in the core of his or her heart on the lotus feet of the Lord and their service to the Lord, tolerating all these adversities, understanding that Krishna's just giving me a little token punishment here. I've been such a sinful rascal, I deserve far worse than this, just a little token reaction. Goes on worshipping Krishna throughout the course of his life, understanding that his destination is assured, back to home, back to Godhead, just like children know that sooner or later they will inherit the property of their parents. It's a very famous verse. So Krishna explains all this to Uddhava, famous story of the Avanti Brahmana. And then soon after that, Krishna tells Uddhava, I've been everywhere I could possibly go, or as far as I could go during the 125 years of my pastimes on this planet. The schedule is about to end. I'm going to leave. But there are some devotees, my Jnana Misra Bhaktas, residing in the Himalayas, especially in Badarika. I didn't get a chance to go and give them the benefit of my association. You have to go there. You're the qualified person to go there. So I'm teaching you all this now, virtually empowering Uddhava to go. Krishna said, I've been to Mithila. I established my own magnificent capital in Dwarka, grew up in Brajadam, went to Hastinapur and Indraprastha many times when my dear devotees, the Pandavas, were residing there. But I never got to Badarika Ashram, so you have to go there and share. Uddhava Gita is, of course, there in the 11th canto. So much direct instruction from the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Also in the 11th canto, which is very interesting, Krishna explains the conversation between King Yadu and Lord Dattatreya. And Lord Dattatreya is an expansion of Lord Vishnu, and he's worshipped in many, many parts of India, and he's described as a Shaktivash avatar, and he's very unique in that it's said that Lord Shiva and Lord Brahma also are within the form of Lord Dattatreya. And Lord Dattatreya gave many wonderful spiritual instructions, and they are the famous 24 spiritual masters or 24 gurus. And I won't list them here because we're running a little short of time, but some of them are very, very famous. So that's also there in the 11th canto. We can just maybe quickly run through the earth, the mountain, the tree, the air, prana, wind, the sky, water, fire, the moon, sun, pigeon, python, ocean, moth, honeybee, elephant, honey, thief, deer, fish, pingala, prostitute, kurara, bird, the child, young girl, the arrow maker, the serpent, the spider, and the wasp. The wasp is really interesting. And sometimes we observe wasps. We know our Vasishrestha Prabhu got a little close to one of the hornets' nests the other day and copped. Is it all settled down now, Vasu Prabhu? Yeah? The ice did the trick? Good. Good to hear. So wasps, we know, are apex predators in the insect kingdom, and they capture all sorts of lesser insects, put them in their, what can they be called? They make little homes out of mud, and they put the unfortunate creature in that. And then the creature meditates on the wasp. The wasp doesn't actually kill the worm or whatever it captures. They even capture spiders. But they put them in there, immobilized, so to speak, but the creature is still alive. And the wasp is going to come back at a later date and devour the poor creature. But, Oh, okay, the babies eat. All right, there you go. But the creature that's been entombed, so to speak, is always meditating on the wasp. And this example is used as a guru that... and then what happens is the lowly insect becomes a wasp in the next lifetime. Because it's always meditating. When is the wasp coming back? So similarly, the devotee, not that we become Krishna, but by meditating on Krishna throughout our life, at the end of this life, we go to Krishna and we enter into the Lord's ecstatic pastimes. So always like the example of the wasp. Let's see how we go. We've kind of run out of time. We'll have 2 pages of notes here, but... Perhaps we can just a few more points and then we will wrap it up. One example of the word sannyas that, and I'm sure there are innumerable if one cares to access Guru Google, but one sannyas definition I heard many years ago, which I noted. 2 words are there, san and nyasa. San comes from sat, meaning the eternal, which is positive, and nyasa is a negative term meaning to actually give up. So sannyasis give up this temporary inferior world for the eternal spiritual world. Sannyas. When Prabhupada took sannyas in Mathura, one of his godbrothers, he asked Krishnadas Babaji Maharaj, who was a very famous kirtaniya, to do kirtan throughout the ceremony, which he did. There was another venerable sannyasi, Vaishnava, performing all the rituals which go with the observance of the ceremonies, mantras, yantras, tantras, mudras, and pujas. So he was asking that Krishnadas Babaji Maharaj lower the tempo, the volume of the kirtan, because he could not concentrate on all the mantras he had to chant because there was quite an exuberant kirtan. And Krishnadas Babaji would oblige for a moment, but then Prabhupada would indicate, no, louder, louder, indicating Prabhupada's great love of kirtan. And Prabhupada also spoke in English. He was asked to speak at that ceremony by his sannyas guru, Bhakti Prajan Keshava Maharaj. And Prabhupada spoke in English, even though only one or two persons assembled could understand English. But because Prabhupada had been asked to preach in English by Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, he took that opportunity to do that. And of course we've all seen, I'm sure, the nice photograph of Prabhupada on one side, brand new sannyasi, and another elderly sannyasi who also took sannyas at that time, and he was given the name Muni Maharaj, and he was in his 90s. And it said, Prabhupada said that when Muni Maharaj asked his family their permission to take sannyas, because he was in his 90s, they said, sure, go ahead. No problem. Whether his wife was still living at that stage, but elderly man. So, all right, let's see. All right. Any questions, comments, or corrections, please? Do we have Bhakta Micus? If anybody wants to ask, make a comment.
Hare. Krishna, thank you, Prabhu. Maybe could you give us any examples of any of the other gurus that sannyasi, the Avanti Brahmana quoted?
Oh, that was actually the 24. You mean the 24 gurus that we just went through?
Yeah. You unpacked one of them.
Yeah. That, well, I just specifically, I mentioned them all, and they all have different, that wasn't the Avanti Brahma, that was King Yadu, that was Dattatreya, Lord Dattatreya explaining to King Yadu these 24 gurus. Another one, interesting one, they're all interesting, they're all fantastic. Devotees can give whole classes for days on these 24 gurus. And their import. Let's just have a look. Oh, Krishna Caitanya. All right. Fire is a good one. A devotee is like fire. He's not sinfully affected, but he purifies. Just fire. Krishna is manifest in fire. Okay. Maybe I can. I've got a few. The earth is very tolerant. People evacuate on the earth. The earth tolerates. The mountain provides selfless service to others, as does trees. Trees give shade, fruits, flowers. You can cut the branches off trees. We have the famous Trinata piece in each verse of Shikshastakam. The air, simple living, just flows here, flows there. Prana, high thinking, life airs. And regulation, we have pranayama to regulate the life airs, the prana, apana, upana, so on, life airs within the body. Wind lives without attachment to sense objects. The sky, ether, soul and the super soul present within all things. So that's a few. Is that okay? Does anybody else have? Yes? Can somebody pass the microphone to Julian, please?
Thank you for a wonderful class. In the verse, it is said that by offering obeisances to sannyas, one can get the seed of bhakti, or you get blessings, something like that. So, but does it count if the sannyas didn't recognize someone is paying obeisances to him? Sometimes it happens that they just walk away, so you pay obeisances behind. And there's also pastime in Chaitanya Caritamrita that Alalanatha pay obeisances to Nityananda, but behind. So he got chastised lovingly. So does it also count if we pay obeisances and the sannyas doesn't recognize that? Can you purify it?
I would say yes, because Krishna's in the heart and he sees, yes, our sincere offering obeisances. The sannyasi doesn't necessarily have to be aware, but it's good for us. He may be aware and give some blessing in exchange. He may even get down himself and offer obeisances. We have some. So I would say not necessarily. Sannyasi may be going in a certain direction. Somebody sees the Maharaj walking off and he says, oh, there's a sannyasi, I should offer, and get down and offer obeisances. So I would say, yeah, just to your point, the more we offer obeisances to sannyasis, especially Vaishnava sannyasis, the more we diminish our offences and purify our hearts. Is that okay? All right. Okay, anything else? All right, Prabhupada, thank you very much. Jai Sri Caitanya Charitamrita ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki.